Well, I just got the recording in progress thing, so we are live, my friend.
I love it. I like
Yes.
being live.
Well, I appreciate you jumping on. Man, we were chatting before this, and you had some stories kind of about where you landed, why you landed, all that stuff. And if you could regurgitate that, as gross as that sounds,
Yeah.
that'd be great, man. So,
Yeah. Well, I think you had asked me what I wanted to talk about my brand or who I am and what I do. And
mhm.
I kind of started with the way you and I met. I tell people the story all the time that the most interesting thing about our relationship is that your wife suggested we meet for coffee. And
Yeah,
neither one of us really knew much about the other, and it was just such a great meeting. And it kind of transformed the way I thought about networking and meeting people in general. And it really was kind of the catalyst for the aha breakthrough realization that I had, which is meeting new people, as scary as it can be, as nervous as it can make you, is always worth your time. And it's not worth your time because you may get anything out of it other than having a new person in your life,
hmm,
a new story to share, a new experience. But just meeting new people is the name of the game. And so to kind of regurgitate what we had been talking about is that I was furloughed from a job that I had for 15, 20 years in industry, and had started this new mortgage loan officer business. And most days, like I told you, then I feel like I'm a spider in roller skates on ice, and I'm always like, do I know what I'm doing today? Well, let's see. Let's see what today has in store. And so I've kind of spent the last 8 months just trying to learn a new career, a new field, a new, the X's and O's. Um, Talking to people has always been something that comes kind of natural to me. So that part's not
yeah,
hard. It's just understanding how I can serve people in this new way. And so I've spent a lot of time in that, and haven't really spent as much time with the marketing of myself and what we do. But the reason that, and look, at the end of the day, I'm a big guy of faith. I know that's something you and I connected on. I landed in this position because of God, not because I made a decision or like it was. I mean, I can tell you stories that'll give you goosebumps, but God put me in this
yeah,
position, and I'm really excited about it. And but one of the things that reasons I was excited about it is because Jason is a great man. He's the owner of Petra Home Lending. He started this company about 16 years ago, and we joke about the 7 o'clock suit and tie meetings at corporate America, and while I know that's a thing for a lot of people, for us, just the freedom to be able to drop my kids off every day and go to football games whenever I need to, and the freedom that comes from being able to dictate my own schedule and what's best for us, and not what somebody in a cubicle 2 states away thinks needs to happen, was a big deal for me. And Jason really believes in the American dream of home ownership and
yeah.
serving and helping as many people as he can achieve that goal in the most financially responsible way he can. And the freedom that his company has with some of the investors we work with, big banks serve a purpose and they help a lot of people as well, but we have a little more flexibility, and really where the flexibility comes in is time. And we can
Mm.
spend 4 hours on a phone call with somebody, just hearing their story, where they're at, what they're looking to do, really get a good, idea of what they're looking for, and then go attack it and see what we can figure out and help them do. And so all that to say that that's kind of what we hope Petra is a place where we can be a part of your family and help bless your family in ways that the home is such a critical part of both financial plans and of just people's family. You know, there's a sense of security in your home. There's a sense of safety, and we want to help as many people as we can have that. And so it's been really rewarding from that aspect. I love being able to hear, people's stories and what they've gone through. You know, I can relate to that, having gone through some crazy stuff over the last year and a half, as I know many people have. And so it's just really nice to be able to hear people and try and help serve them in different and unique ways. And so it's been fun.
You mentioned this earlier. Maybe you could touch on this a little bit more, but being with a smaller, maybe a boutique kind of firm allows for some nimbleness, and maybe it's kind of backs up into the freedom part of it to work with the clients. And this might be a perception thing on my side, but the big banks, it's, here's our 6, 8 different products, pick which best fits you.
Mhm.
And from what I've heard from you is that there's some nimbleness there where you almost can understand a client's story better and design something that's specific around them. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so. I think where it really comes into play is with the larger companies. They have a rate sheet that's non-negotiable, right? Their rates already have all of the back end things factored in, and so you can only do what you can do. With our investors, we have a little bit more because we have their rate sheet, and so we can put our rate depending on what's best for the client and what's best for us. And there's a little bit more room to massage things and really help the borrower out in the best way we can. And we work with several different investors, so there's a number of different products, just like the big banks have. But it's nice to be able to help people knowing that maybe you don't make this on this deal because another deal come down a couple months later or whatever it is. Just to be able to help people, and that's nice. That's some freedom to be able to do that, as well as the freedom with our time. Because we don't have all these big corporate meetings we have to go to and sit in on the newest, this is, whatever. We can really spend quality time with our borrowers. And what I've learned over the past 8 months is that doesn't equate to any less service. We're getting most of our loans closed in 30 days, right at 30 days.
Wow.
And I know some of the larger companies, sometimes it can take 2 and 3 months. I mean, we're getting things pushed through quickly, which is nice. People don't want to have to, be bothered for this and this and this and this and this, and then, oh, we thought we were done. I mean, that still happens from time to time, but we're getting things pushed through pretty nice, which is really, I think, at the end of the day, that's what people really want. They don't want something that's going to take 3 months of their life to have to, go to the well. So
that makes sense. If we can back up a little bit, I think part of your interesting story is the progression and influence you've had really on LinkedIn and social media that, I think probably a couple of years ago when we first met, but started off on this, journey maybe of expanding that and how that's impacted your life. If you could speak to that a little bit, that'd be really neat.
yeah, you bet. I went to a meeting at the Prosper Chamber of Commerce today as I'm trying to network and meet new people. And there was a lady there that spoke about marketing and, what's the best use of your funds, the best use of your time, whether it's for an entrepreneur or for a big Fortune 500 company. And I think a lot of people get really confused with marketing these days. It's changed so much and so rapidly. And a lot of people spend a lot of their time online because let's face it, that's, I was listening to the guys in the ticket the other day just talking about how much of our life is spent online every day, from shopping. My wife and I were even talking church. we get church over the past 12 months. A lot of people don't even go anymore because they just sit at home and watch it. So there's a lot of online presence, and that can be important. And I learned a lot of really unique tools that, there's a lot of ways to try and get your audience's attention and things that capture people's attention as they're scrolling down and left and right. And those things are important, but I got to be honest, at the end of the day, this is still king.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
because the reality is online is good just to let people know you're there, how to get a hold of you, maybe even be top of mind if there's a message that you're trying to get out there. But face to face, talking with people, listening to people, the older I get, and I sound like an old fart when I say something like this, but uh, I really think the biggest commodity that anyone has to give is time.
Yeah.
It's not a lower rate um, or an ability to have a return on investment. It's time, right? Because there's a lot of people who can say all these things, but they're not going to give you time.
So
And
it's a finite thing. And, once it
yeah,
goes away, you can't get it back. And I'm, one of the pastors at the churches that Kate and I went to a while ago said, I mean, how do you spell love when it comes to your kids? Time.
yeah.
And, I guess I'm reminded, you don't have to be doing anything specifically with kids. It's just being there with them. And you're right. It just, it's an invaluable commodity, if you want to call it that, I guess. Yeah.
Well, and look, I think one of the things I told you earlier is I know that I'm a very impatient person by nature. Yes, I have started a new career in my 40s, something I've never done before. A lot of people would say that's ridiculous. You're an idiot. And that's fine. I understand where that thought process comes from, but um, what I would suggest, and so I want things to happen, right? I want my pipeline to be full, and if I do this, and if I do this, and if I do this, then I would, people would expect, well, things are going to come. And what I'm learning is, those things are important. I don't want to dismiss them. Social media is great and it can do a lot of things, but the reality is my boss didn't build this business he has overnight. He's been doing
Yeah.
it for 16 years. And the thing, and I tell him all the time, it makes me laugh because his biggest superpower is his kryptonite. And instead he gives up so much of his time,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
it, but it's funny because he doesn't really market himself. He doesn't have to. Everybody knows that if you have a question or you're just confused, you don't even have to come to him saying, I want to get a loan. He'll spend the time to listen. And it's really been a good teaching moment to me, that I want to share with as many people as I can, is that as I learn more and I experience different situations with different borrowers that I can help share with other people, I just want to do this, man.
Yeah.
You told me, if you got, I hope you have time, or I don't want to waste your time, man. I got all the time in the world for stuff like this because I don't expect anything's directly going to come from this conversation, right? Like you and I aren't talking because I want to get two new clients. That's not what this is. This is, hey, I'm here. This is what I'm doing now. If there's someone who has a question or needs anything, like I want to give people my time. I want to give, that's my act of love and service is, hey, I have this new, set of things that I'm learning. I
Yeah.
still don't feel like I know very much, but as I learn more, I hope I can share that with more and more people to where if they don't know something, I could, shine a light on an area that they may not be as familiar with. And that's exciting, man. How many people get to say that in their jobs, that they just get to serve people through love and give them their time? I mean, I don't know. I feel as rewarded as I have in a long time.
I think it's a kind of a statement of priorities that, in many industries, it's, serving a client is paramount and the thing, but a lot of times that's a thin veil to gain transactions, and it's kind of, there's maybe an irony behind it a little bit. Uh-oh.
There you are.
Well, I think I just exposed my lack of understanding of technology there a little bit. So I did not put my camera on or phone on do not disturb. So, but I guess going back to the kind of the irony of, if you don't spend the time with every person to get to know them personally, there's less fulfillment in there, and ultimately, less opportunity for kind of reward there, if you will. So you can't have one without the other, but one is more important than the other. I mean, to be cliche, people matter.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
when and everybody has a story to share, and I think that's an interest. I don't want to dismiss metrics, and I don't want to dismiss putting in the hard work and being efficient with both your time and your money. That's all important. I would never suggest that it's not, but I just have this newfound appreciation for trying. I don't always do it very well. Trying to not have a set expectation that is directly correlated with what I get out of something.
Yeah.
Because I've just found that my expectations are usually going to lead me to disappointment. But if my time is just spent listening and serving or talking or whatever, I don't know. There's just not as much disappointment in that. I mean, even with you and I a year and a half ago, I don't think either one of us knew what we were getting into meeting for coffee that day. And yet I thoroughly enjoy our conversations and our lunches. And it's a friendship that I never would have had if I had an expectation going into it. And I tell people this story a lot because it really changed the way I look at things like this. You and I talked this morning. I was in a hurry going to the Prosper meeting, and I was afraid I knew I was going to be late because dropping one kid off at high school and another at middle school, and one kid forgetting their high school, their pads, and having to turn around and go home. I was 30 minutes late, and I was like, I don't want to go to this meeting. I'm going to walk in and embarrass myself. And these are all professional people who showed up on time and not this guy. And I was really glad I went. It was very rewarding. I met some new people. I heard a really good speaker. I think those are the limits that we put on ourselves of the I can'ts and I won'ts. And I was talking to my kids last night about believing in yourself. And it's funny how as a adult in my 40s, I still struggle with that. Simple as showing up to a meeting on time.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a degree of humility I think both you and I kind of connect on, in that we know we don't have all the answers. We know have not learned everything in our industry, and we're open to admit it. And I think, that's uncommon in our space, where competency and being at the top level of competency, maybe it's perceived to have the highest value. But I mean, I've told a couple of my clients, almost every single one of them, like, I don't know everything, and you're going to ask me a question, and I hope you do, that I don't know the answer to, and
I get to learn at the same time you do.
yeah, no doubt. The thing I was going to go back to, when you started really getting bigger on LinkedIn, was there anything that surprised you about the day-to-day, week-to-week, kind of more from a relationship standpoint? Was anything that really surprised you on how that played out?
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot. We could do a whole other podcast on that, but and look, to be fair, I came into LinkedIn in the middle of COVID. So I don't know if it will always be this way. I would like to hope that it would be. There were a lot of people that were just lost and just wanted to connect.
Yeah.
I think that, we were all looking for a new career path and new jobs, but man, people just wanted to talk and know they weren't alone.
Yeah.
I met so many people that I still communicate with. Matter of fact, of the 4 or 5 of my own loans that I've gotten to process since I started, one of it is a guy here locally who I met through LinkedIn, and we've still never met face to face, but we've been in a group for going on 12 months, and so that was cool. That was cool to get to serve him in that way. But here's the biggest thing that I'll say about social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or, fill in the blank. Maybe not Tinder. I've never been on Tinder,
Me
but
neither.
for
Yeah.
good reason. For good
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah.
Is that the biggest thing that I heard with people who would go to these classes and learn the same things I would, that I'm just not comfortable with that, or I don't know how, or I can't, or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would always laugh because the only person that they were fooling or hurting was themselves with that with
Yeah.
that that thought process. Because the coolest thing about LinkedIn is, yeah, there's some people that do some really cool stuff, and they got some spiffy, designer and sound and editing and yada yada yada. But I got more comments on just a random post on my phone while I was walking around the neighborhood with headphones on, that then, I mean, yeah, I tried to spiff it up my own way and did my own thing, but it just kind of goes back to the whole thing. You're never going to know what you can do unless you try, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the biggest thing to me was I loved interacting with people who tried to do something, no matter how big or small it was, because that's rewarding, and people loved talking about and congratulating each other and lifting each other up. And but most social media is not that positive. I hope LinkedIn stays that way. I don't have a crystal ball to know if it will, but it was a space where people just wanted to encourage each other. And given what the whole world and country was going through, that was really unique to have a social media platform where people were so positive. And yeah, I was shocked. I got to be on a guy's TV show here a couple times. I was on a number of podcasts. I was on a radio show. I mean, you know, it was kind of crazy, but it was fun because you're just
Yeah.
talking to people. And who does? I mean, I don't know. Maybe not everybody wants to talk to people. Maybe that's what I could talk to a fly on the wall because I just want to talk. But it's for guys like you and me who are starting a new thing, who are trying to influence people in a positive way, but really just let people know that we're here.
Yeah.
Hey, in this sea of a billion different things, I'm open to talk if you'd like to talk. It's nice to have a platform where you can just put stuff out there and get your name out.
I
I
think
mean, I
that
would assume you feel the same way, right?
no doubt. I would suspect this is probably across all industries. I mean, if there's any silver lining, there probably is a few different, slivers of silver lining relative to COVID and everything that happened there, is that pushing people onto Zoom calls, social media, all that stuff is almost forced some authenticity among folks. I mean, shoot, 10 minutes ago, I had a call interrupted our call here, and video failed, and what the heck do I do now? And it's forced some authenticity. And I would argue that authenticity and genuineness, people kind of crave that, because you look at so much other social media accounts, and there's a lack of that. Someone just told me the other day something like, for every one picture that's posted on Instagram, there's 28 that are put on there then taken down. So you're getting 1/28th of actually what someone's real life is like. And it's typically the best picture, the best foot forward kind of thing. And I mean, shoot, I mean, look at us, man. You have an awesome office there, and people are
A
able to
lot of
see.
tchotchkes. My wife doesn't think they're very awesome, but luckily, this is my safe place, so I fill it with as many childish things as I can.
There you go, man. And 2 years ago, where this kind of interaction was not prevalent at all, we would all be wearing suits and ties and
Yeah.
nice shoes and playing a part. And here it's not that. There's a fulfilling, kind of refreshing part of that I like.
No, I'm totally with you. I think often, and look, here's what I'll say about the face to face in regards and as opposed to the social media stuff. I agree, man. I think authenticity is everything. I think without
Yeah.
it, it's just I don't even know what I would classify it as. But being able to, whether it's a Zoom call or a coffee shop or whatever, you can tell if people are tooting their own horn or blowing
Yeah.
smoke up you know what. I mean, people can pick up on that, and people who just want to talk to other people for the sake of talking to people. I agree, man. I think people crave that. We were listening to a series that our preacher's been doing, or a different preacher on Revelation, and he was talking
Mm.
about um, America specifically, and how you can have a street with 8 houses on it with a swimming pool in every backyard with a 10-foot fence, and nobody knows each other, and and
Yeah.
in America people are lonely. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, that's not shocking. We put pools in our backyard and then we put fences up and we don't ever get to know our neighbors. Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's such a, and I think COVID really made it worse, from keeping everybody in. And I'm glad to see that people are starting to be able to get back with families and everything else. But yeah, I think that especially for entrepreneurs that are just trying to meet people and being authentic. Because look, anybody could go. We had somebody tell us the other day that they refied their home through text message. They didn't even talk on the phone. From
Really?
applying, everything was done via text message. And I think that's the way that things are going. I think you can buy a house, you can buy a car, you can get a girlfriend, you can do everything. You can order a pizza while you're sitting on your couch. You don't ever have to leave wherever you want to sit. You could do it in a park, you could do it from the toilet. I mean, that's where we're going. And I suppose that there's something to be said about the convenience in that, but I still want to talk to somebody about it. I
Yeah.
don't want to do all that over a text message. I want to talk to the person and understand why this is a good move, and why, going with a 30-year mortgage is better than a 20-year mortgage. Because if you were to take that $400 that you're saving with a 30-year mortgage and invest it, you could still pay it off in 20 years, as opposed to just, and those are conversations you can't just have through email and text. I think I got off track on your original question, but yeah, I think authenticity is everything.
I think the more and more technology and AI and all that stuff plays a part in our lives, I think the more and more it shines the need for human connection. And it's almost, and this might sound kind of weird, but you have like AI technology kind of fighting for the space of the human dynamic. And the harder that technology fights for the space, the more it's obvious that the human dynamic is so incredibly needed within people. Yeah, I mean, I've interacted with prospects before, and they would want to get down to kind of brass tacks and talk about some things, and that's fine. But so much of the mechanical, the mathematical kind of from planning or investment is driven by human nature, is driven by the emotional kind of things, and so you really need to understand, someone's personal motivations before you can kind of set up the mechanical side of things.
Absolutely.
And we
Yeah.
want to, and so many times want to put the cart before the horse there, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, maybe it's the nerd in me a little bit, but the mathematical, mechanical, putting that puzzle together, it's fascinating to me. But people are much more fascinating, because rarely does one and one equal two in when you're talking with people, because there's the stories are so complex and interwoven and everything.
Yeah.
So it's everything's new.
No,
So
totally agree. The human experience can't ever not be a part of the equation, and quite frankly, it should be the majority of the equation.
yeah,
You can make numbers. I've learned that over the course of 20 years in corporate America. You can make numbers tell any story you want. even
Yeah.
completely different stories with the same numbers. That doesn't even make logical sense, but you can. But when the human is at the core, the crux of it all, that's the only thing that matters. And I'm excited for both of us that we get to work in industries where we can do that.
Yeah.
I know when you're serving a client, there's still a human aspect to it, but sometimes, to your point earlier, as a part of a larger P&L and revenue stream and yada yada
Yeah.
yada, all the buzzwords that we can talk about.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets lost when you go in with no other goal than to see how can I serve you.
Yeah.
Then we'll talk about numbers, man. That's it's kind of fun. I agree with
Yeah.
you. That's the best part of it all.
Man, I want to be respectful of your time here. I know that I kept you waiting because I had Bluetooth, microphone, camera
Yeah, you're real
issues.
fancy over there, real high tech with all your Bluetooth.
I also I think to some degree my system is connected by more duct tape than I actually, so it works most of the time. So I'll go with that. Yeah. So,
Well, I will just say that the running joke in my house is that all technology is cursed. So don't feel alone because literally nothing that I see that I go by and try and implement ever works here. But it works right around the corner at my neighbor's house. So I'm kudos to you for making it through a whole podcast without my screen going dark and crazy and everything else.
man, how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way to seek you out to so you can get to know each other and have a conversation?
Well, you can put my phone number in there. It's 469-534-2850. Always willing to talk to people on the phone. My email is real simple. It's just josh@petrolending.com. You can always look at our website, petrolending.com. I can send you a 40 barcode or something if you want to put it in later. But yeah, it's nothing complicated.
Yeah.
Just shoot me a text, let me know, that you heard who I was and you wanted to talk and tell me your story, and be more than happy to sit down and spend some time figuring it out.
Awesome.
I will say that, one of the things that's crazy to me is we're still in a situation where rates are at an all-time low. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people have already refied, but if you're looking for an investment property, if you're looking for a new house for you, whatever it is, I can't get over what the rates are sitting at right now, which is a blessing. I'm super excited that people are getting to take advantage of this. But if you've waited, if you haven't pulled the trigger, you've got questions, whatever it is, take advantage of them, because getting homes into 30 years at 2.5% is unprecedented. I mean, it's like free money. So take advantage of it if you're in the position to do that.
Yeah, because this part of it leads me into another question here. But for the homeowner out there that's sitting on a 20, 30-year note, maybe bought a house 2 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it is there a kind of a rule of thumb of, a rate that they might have right now that I'd be worth exploring refinancing? If someone's sitting at a 4 or a 3.5, is it worth exploring? So you can just kind of speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So, I mean, look, it's different for everybody. I don't think that it would be responsible for you or I to make blanket statements for anybody at this rate in this situation, right? I mean, talk with the financial advisor or call you or call me and we can go over some of the things. But man, if you're in the fours, even if you just refied a couple years ago, because here's really the biggest kicker, okay? And this is the thing that I would encourage people to look into. Home values in North Texas specifically are ridiculous.
Yeah.
Even if you refied 2 years ago, your house could very easily appraise for 200,000 more than it did 2 years ago. Well, that's free equity in your home that you didn't do anything to deserve. It may not be there in a month. It may not be there in 6 months. And I know it depends on the part of town. I can't say, everybody's going to have that, but there's a lot of people who have gained a lot of equity over the last 2 years in this part of the country. And so if you're still at a 3 or a 4, and you could get down into the 2s and take advantage of the equity that you have to either pay off some other school loans or debt, or do something around your home, or take a vacation, whatever it is, now's as good a time as any. I wouldn't tell people that if they refied 2 years ago to not do it again. And I'm not saying that, we have to be careful about that. We're not trying
Sure.
to
Yeah.
refi every couple of years. It's different for every family. I can tell you specifically for us, we did refi 2 years ago. We went through some challenging times over the last 12 months, as I know many families have. And for us, it was a no-brainer, and it was a God thing. It was perfect timing, and it all worked out. And we were able to take advantage of getting a much better rate, and kind of resetting our life prior to everything that happened. Now, that was just a huge blessing for us. I know that that's not the case for everybody, but if it's something you've thought about, then let's at least have a conversation and see if it makes sense, and if it makes sense with your long-term goals, your short-term goals. We had talked about doing a 20-year, because we bought the house in 15. It would basically, if you just do the math, we've been in it for 6 years. So it basically give us an extra 4 years of paying it off early. But when we started talking about it, we decided we want, that extra $400 a month that we would have put towards a 20-year note. If we were to just do a 30-year note and take that same $400 and invest it over the next 15 years, we're going to have a whole lot more. Plus, we could still pay off our house and still keep investing. So there's things that I wasn't aware of that I'm learning that are very interesting to me. I know you probably speak that a lot better than I do, but if you take $400 at 7-8% gain, you might still be able to pay off your house in 20 years and have some extra money to keep investing. So there's a lot of different things you can do. And I would just say, have a conversation with somebody, and have a conversation with somebody who's not in it to sell you something, right? Everybody gets the things in the mail. Everybody gets harassed on phone calls. I get it. People are just trying to do their job. But the reality is, I don't want anybody to do something that's going to put you in a worse financial place for your family than you are right now. I would never want anyone to do something to make a little bit of money now that is going to put you in a worse situation. I think that's irresponsible for anybody to suggest that. So, really think about it. It may not be for everybody. I've had families that were at 3.25 or 3.5 and decided it really wasn't worth it to move down a 0.5% or 0.75%, and I respect that. Everybody's different. Everybody's financial goals and where they are right now is different, but there are some unique things that I'm not sure have ever happened before, specifically in North Texas, in regards to some of the home prices that are inflated. One question people ask me is, what's going to happen when that goes away? Because it will. It won't stay that way forever. And my answer is that unless you need to move, it's not really going to affect you at all, right? Let's say your home's appraised for $600,000 right now, and in 2 years it's only appraised at $450,000. Well, it doesn't matter if you got your equity out when you refinance it and you got a good rate. The only way that might affect you is if you needed to sell it immediately. Nobody has a crystal ball and can tell everybody what's going to happen, but there are some really exciting things for families right now. If people want to have a conversation about what that looks like, I know you and I would both be more than happy to talk. And I've learned a lot through my boss. He has a financial planner that he's been with for 20 years out in Abilene. And I think that's a unique relationship, right? Because the home for a lot of people is really at the crux of people's financial plans. It's a big piece of a lot of people's investments. And so there are some unique things you can do with your home and the equity you have in it that can help you make other financial plans. And so I never thought of that before for the last 8 months. So that's one of the fun things I've gotten to learn and hear about different options that are available to people. And so I would just encourage people to ask the question, just, what does that mean? What does equity mean? What does that mean? What can I do with it? What can I not do with it? Because I think we all hear the commercials with the micro machine man at the end of it. He goes through the whole disclosure that's got 500 words in 2 seconds. And so people, I feel like I'm getting bamboozled here, but there is some cool stuff going on in this market. And so I would encourage people to ask a question and see if it makes sense. It could change a lot of things for you.
I mean, for most families, vast majority of families, their home is central to cash flow management, debt management, to reaching retirement goals relative to how much money we can put away today, and what are the risks associated with investing versus paying off debts. I mean, all those kind of mathematical questions, and those play a major part, but also, is there comfort in having more liquidity on an ongoing basis? And I had this conversation with a client the other day, is that the math made sense to go in this direction, but they weren't comfortable that direction. And we dug in and we explored kind of the why they weren't comfortable there. There didn't seem to be a sin struggle there. It was just a comfort in having some more liquidity. And perfect. Sounds good. Yeah. Let's keep more in liquidity than what the math would tell us we need, if it creates some peace of mind there. And that we couldn't have arrived there unless we dug in and had conversations about it, because we started at level one and they thought there's a kind of two options, but there's actually like 6 different options, and so I love those exploratory sessions, and I think you do as well, where it's like, we think there's only kind of 2 options here, but we explore and there's 6 different options, and we really understand what all 6 of those kind of mean, and short, long-term ramifications and all this stuff. And then we put that puzzle together. So, I mean, the lending side of things and the planning, investment management side of things intertwine, all the time. So, yeah.
More than I was aware of.
Yeah. So, well, man, it's been great talking with you, man. And we need to do this again soon. And if you could let everyone know what email, phone numbers again, I want to make sure everyone has that. So we can get a hold of Josh and have a conversation about some ideas that they might have as well. So
you bet. Just reach out. My email is josh@petralending.com. That's PETRA. And my phone number is 469-534-2850. Philip's salt of the earth people. So if you know Philip, I'd love to listen to you and work with you. Just let me know that he's your buddy, and you've got my time. You've got as much time as you need. So look forward to talking to people.
Awesome, man. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
All right, buddy. Have a good afternoon.
You too.
All right, man. Bye.
Bye.